Okay, well, let's just pick up where we left off. That was a long pause. I ended up making it part one because it was 45 minutes, and I don't know if you're going to sit still for 45 minutes and listen to me talk anyway. So, thought I'd break it into two, give my throat a break. Because what? I already did Mercury. Okay, so if we go from Leo to Virgo, Virgo is also ruled by Mercury. But if you look at the worksheets, I do also have a little bit of in the sign, okay, and in the house and aspecting the planet. So what we really want to consider here is the planet is what I call the psycho-spiritual function. Okay, Mercury is just how I think, Mars is how I act, Venus is what I'm attracted to and what I value. It just goes on and on. These are just functions of the psyche. Okay, they're like lights. If we're putting on a play, and the sign is the color. Okay, the sign is how. So the planet is what? The sign is how, and the house is where. Where. Okay, so you have what, how, and where. When you deal, this is the difference between, a lot of people get hung up on this. What's the difference between Virgo and the sixth house? Okay. The sixth house is where? Okay, it's aunts and uncles. It's the workplace. Okay, it's, by the coffee or the water cooler, I mean, it's, it's your health, it's your physical body, and of course, can be the, well, the 12th house is more to do with the hospital. But the sixth house is my routine, my daily activities. Whereas Virgo, okay, Virgo, planets in the sign of Virgo, Saturn in Virgo, okay, this is where. And Virgo is about integration. Integration. It is a sign of initiation. From Leo, the self, into Libra, relationship and partnership. And what does that involve? You have to be relevant. You have to give something. Maybe you have to perfect yourself or your craft or your art a little bit. You have to integrate yourself into society, integrate yourself into relationship. So it is the sign that, that has to do with service, contribution, perfection, and it's ruled by Mercury. Analyzation, categorization, discrimination, discernment. These are all qualities of the powerful, powerful, feminine, virgin goddess, which does not need a man to complete herself. So we have this image, okay, of a very powerful feminine energy with Virgo. So Saturn in Virgo, okay, and a lot of dealing with Saturn, I think, is attitude. Okay, if you feel like, oh my God, this is karma and this is, blocks and hindrances and I did something wrong and I'm guilty or whatever, that's a totally different thing. Then all I can say is, and what I like to say to people, okay, it's just what you didn't do in your last life. So you've got extra homework. You've got makeup assignments. So with Virgo, okay, Saturn is not going to let you get away with just willy-nilly, whatever, come and go, let's make this happen or that happen. It's like, you've got to discriminate. You've got to discern. Virgo, you could have a sensitive digestive system. You could have a sensitive body, all right? Where you deal with allergies or special diets or your body needs attention. You got to pay attention to your body. It's an earth sign. You got to come into this body, this physical world, in order to give, in order to serve, in order to heal. You could be a healer. Saturn in Virgo could be that, yes, you have obstacles and, it's like, yeah, I got to really take care of my body. And so what did I do? I got on the internet and I Googled everything about the body that I could. And I got this degree and that degree and that degree. I'm a neurosurgeon. It can be your profession, the healing arts, or in another realm, numbers, accountants, keeping track, organizing, making those spreadsheets, making sure, that everything is efficient. Virgo is the efficiency expert. So Saturn here, is that grounded aspect. Gemini Mercury, third house Mercury, is more about talking and thinking, and Virgo is about, implementing, serving, giving, humbling ourselves in some ways after Leo. So there can be some karma or some lessons where maybe I wasn't so humble, or maybe I was, Wonder Woman or Superman in my past life, and this lifetime I need to work. It's going to just also have to do, with dedication and daily routine. I need a good solid schedule. Now the challenging aspects, can be that somebody gave you a schedule. Somebody said, you do this work. Your grandfather was a tailor and your father was a tailor and we want you to be a tailor. And so then, you become a tailor and it's like, oh my God, I just can't stand being a tailor. This is just not me. But you got all this family pressure. You've got all this whatever, it's your income. It's the only thing that they taught you how to do or something. So you can have, where you really need to step up and you really need to discriminate and you really need to get into your core, into your Cancer, into your, in this case, it would be the 12th house or Pisces, and you need to tap into spirit and really see what is spirit? What spirit work am I really here to do? Yeah? Get that? So, 7th house, Libra. I already did Venus. I did Venus with Taurus. All right. Now she is also the ruler of the 7th house, partnership and relationship. If you have Saturn in the 7th house or Libra, it has more to do with what? Projection. The 7th house planets are planets that we project onto other people. You be my Saturn. You be my father. You be the authority. You make the decisions. You set the boundaries. You make the rules. You drive the car. That way I'm not responsible if you crash, if this relationship doesn't work, if we go broke. It wasn't my fault because I didn't decide. So this lifetime, you can have situations or conditions where you feel controlled by somebody else, or your partner starts out being stable. Maybe they're rich and financially successful and, they have, you feel like they have integrity or they can, really, manage things for you. But maybe they end up stifling you, imprisoning you, controlling you, directing you. And so then you have this energy where you need to, again, opposite of the 7th house is the 1st house, right? I need to come into myself, my 1st house. My desires, my wants, my wishes, they count, they matter. And I need to take more responsibility. So I need to start making some of my own decisions. No more codependency, no more putting the responsibility outside myself. And what can this lead to? You can become a counselor, a marriage counselor, a relationship counselor, a life coach, a mediator. What's the good part? Saturn is business. It can be that you have a business partner. So it doesn't have to be a spouse or a romantic condition or situation, right? It's that we have a business together. And I am able to put myself in other people's positions, in other people's shoes, see both sides of the coin. So I'm a good mediator. I'm good at business. Yeah. So I can teach that. I can even make a profession out of it. I can, teach management. Libras are great managers. Seventh house is about being able to see the effect of myself on other people, see, what I am doing, what is happening around me and in and through and around my relationships and partnerships. So you may be blocked there to start with. Self-discipline, endurance, perseverance. The older you get, the better your partnership gets. Again, Saturn can be cautious, afraid to lose control. So it may take you a few years, or you may get into a relationship later on in life that really, fills, the whole bill for you. Yeah. Eighth house. I already did Mars, okay, but Pluto, Scorpio, the eighth house. Yeah. Let's really look at this. Scorpio is either merging with, okay, connecting with, or confronting forces beyond my control, other people's values, other people's money, taxes, inheritance, death, insurance, governments, Mother Nature. I can't control these things. But in astrology, there's no accidents, okay? And all these forces beyond our control, okay, whether they're predators or whatever, they are helping us to evolve. So Scorpio is the sign of mastery. So we want to come into mastery. So Saturn here can be blocks, hindrances, some karma around what? Well, maybe in past lives I did not merge. Scorpio and Pluto have to do with osmosis. I become what I relate to. You're smarter than me. I want to get smarter. I'm going to relate to you and get your smarts. I'm going to marry somebody richer than me because I want to be rich. I'm going to marry somebody more charismatic than me because I want to be more charismatic. Yeah, it's osmosis. And over time and through sharing sexual fluids and through intimacy, we become more and more and more in Lakesh. I am another you. Yeah. So the deeper we get involved in relationship and partnership, the more we take on and learn from and osmose from our partners. Okay. So Saturn here says, boom, in my past lives, no way. Okay. What does intimacy take? What does merging take? With sex, physical sex, you have to get naked. I mean, it's better that way. Okay. But you have to be vulnerable. You have to expose yourself. Okay. I mean, Scorpio likes to keep the power. I hold my cards close. Nobody sees I've got the ace of spades. Right? But in Scorpio, in partnership, in intimacy, you got to lay your cards down. You got to expose yourself. You've got to show yourself in order to really get the deepest transformation and evolution possible from that relationship. So Saturn there says there's issues around here. There's blocks. There's hindrances. Maybe in past lifetimes or early in this lifetime. Okay. Somebody said, don't do that. Don't take your clothes off ever. Okay. Don't trust anybody. Okay. It's like, lend money? I don't lend money. Are you kidding? I'm not going to get ripped off. I mean, there can be trust issues. There can be control issues. A fear of losing control. Yes. Death. Surrender. Okay. Sometimes necessary for the orgasm is surrendering. Allowing myself to be, penetrated, transformed alchemically through union implies or requires a certain amount of surrender, a little dying, letting go of my inhibitions, of my fears, of my ego that wants to stay separate and stay in control. So Saturn, Pluto, okay, Pluto is the soul. Pluto is, past lifetimes, where I've been. So Saturn and Pluto people can be very much about control, very fearful of losing control, and they have control issues, okay, and boundary issues. Usually very powerful boundaries, very strong boundaries. Pluto is this Kundalini energy mixed with Saturn. Saturn is also associated with the root chakra. These are very powerful people. And they come into this life, come into this world, okay, and it can be what? Obsessive compulsive. They can be overly rigid. They could have too many boundaries. They could be obsessed with control, fearful of trust, fearful of surrender, fearful of intimacy. So again, identify possibly the external sources, okay? Who taught me about sex? Who taught me about intimacy? Who taught me not to trust? Who taught me possibly to be paranoid? Okay, who taught me that, if you lose control, you're going to die, okay, or, somebody's going to steal all your money, or blah, 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 blah. And so I'm, held in, because this is where, okay, and it's also what? Scorpio in the 8th house have to do with psychotherapy. They have to do with shamanism. They have to do, with this powerful going into the shadow, going into the unconscious realms, and really looking at what's under the rug, what skeletons in the closets, looking at my deepest fears, even looking at what is evil. Yeah? What is right and what is wrong? What is good and what is evil? And really checking out the taboo. So Saturn here is to become an authority on power, on self-mastery. And that's no easy task, yeah? There's an old saying, the shamans would sit in a circle and they would just go around the circle, so how many times have you died? Oh, I've died 9 times, okay. Oh, I've died, 5 times. I've died 25 times, It's like, this is going into, okay, the underworld going down into death, followed by resurrection. In astrology, there's no death. There's only metamorphosis and alchemical transformation. So Saturn here is ultimately a soul that does want to become an authority. And this is by facing the dragons, facing the demons. Okay. And that will involve, okay, possibly dealing with the taboo, or with what the society or the culture or the religion or the family or whatever has said. We don't do that here. We don't talk about that. Okay, we don't do that. We don't go there. Well, Saturn, Pluto means to become the author of my own life. I really need to decide, okay, who I am to be intimate with and who I'm not to be intimate with, and really go fully, deeply, full bore into that intimate connection and relationship and partnership. And these people end up being very powerful. These are your financiers, okay? These are your bankers, your Rothschilds and your JP Morgans. And, this is also dealing with power, managing Saturn, other people's money, other people's resources, real estate or whatever, it can be any kind of, other people's. So these are, again, excellent managers, okay? And even more than managers, possibly, CEOs of corporations and on the board of directors and, whatever of this, that, or the other enterprise. You see? Sag, Jupiter, Ninth house. The expansion of consciousness comes out of Scorpio. The phoenix rises from the ashes. Why did I have to die? Why did I have to lose? Why did I have to expose? Why did I have to let go? Why did I have to go through all that emotional transformation of detaching or, letting go, only, to, transform and be alchemically changed forever? So Sag is meaning. Jupiter is meaning. It's natural law. This is why you had to go through Scorpio. This is why you had to go through the 8th house, in order to learn this. And then you are reborn from an ego of I, me, my, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio. The ego dies to be born into transpersonal consciousness. These are natural laws, not your laws. Not what you thought was right or you thought was wrong or subjectively, believed or, you were taught this, that, or the other thing. No. This is natural law. It's the right brain. It's intuition. It's knowing what I know without knowing how I know it. It has to do with religion, with belief systems, upon which nature is based. It's wisdom. It's the house of the guru, the sign of the guru. Jupiter in Sanskrit is guru or something like that, yeah? So with Saturn here, all right, there can be what? Past lifetimes and this lifetime of religious conditioning, right? Catholic, Jewish, Muslim, whatever, we've got some solid, basic, structured, doctrines, dogma around what to believe, around what's right, what's wrong, what's good, what's bad. Maybe it's in alignment with nature and natural law. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's in alignment with your soul intention and what you need to learn and evolve in this lifetime. Maybe it's not. So Saturn in Sagittarius needs to deal with, in some cases, bullshit, honesty and dishonesty, exaggeration. Sag and Jupiter is known for blowing things up. I caught a fish that was this big. Actually, it was this big. But, I thought it was that big, it was a while ago. So Saturn can put the clamp on, right? Again, you want to identify who are your teachers, when it came, around to, what's moral and what's ethical, what is right and what is wrong. Who are your judges? And you can be very self-judgmental, or you can be very ashamed of your beliefs. It's like, I don't believe, that. And you could go to another dogma and adopt that. And and then go to another and adopt that. But you can have, a condition or a situation where you are, really challenged and hindered, and you feel ashamed of or guilty of yourself around, your moral code or your beliefs. And you need to become well-versed. You need to go into and identify your own personal beliefs. You need to become the guru. You need to become the source. You need to develop that intuitive capacity, that right brain. That's not counting on a teacher or a guru or an intermediary to help me determine what's right and wrong, what's right and what's wrong. We know, each and every single one of us knows what is right and what is wrong. Whenever somebody says, oh, I don't know, bullshit. You do know. We all know. We can tell ourselves we don't know. We can pretend that we don't know. We can deny that we don't know. We can avoid, okay, our knowledge, okay, because it might be limiting. Saturn will limit us. So this is like, Saturn is the straight and narrow. It is the road of integrity, of honesty, of authenticity, and of authority. So none of this Jupiter, Sagittarius, freedom. Saturn and Sag can have issues with freedom, feeling confined, feeling restricted. I want unlimited Jupiter. I just want to expand. And Saturn is going to say, no. You don't just expand. Okay? There's a time and a place for everything. So if you overexpand, you get blocked. And what's the important thing with Saturn? Don't take it personally. It's just saying it's not time to expand. Okay? You don't have to get into a value judgment and feel guilty or ashamed of yourself. Oh my God, life is against me. Okay, I'm going to go to hell or whatever. I did the wrong thing. Blah, 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 blah. You just want to, it's just, just the taskmaster, just Saturn saying, no, it's just not time. It's not the right place. Later, have patience. You will expand. A flower cannot grow any faster, okay, than its innate, natural, evolutionary pace. And we as human beings are the same, and Saturn shows us that by sign, house, and aspect. When he's aspecting Jupiter, okay, this is this thing about timing, and it has to do with expansion in particular, with business. And there can be limitations. Jupiter just wants to go. Saturn says, slow, cautious, step-by-step expansion. You need to really, do Jupiter and Saturn together. And this, I gotta say, when these two planets aspect each other, it can really indicate a very powerful teacher, a very powerful authority, a wise person. And they didn't get there overnight. And they didn't get there by the time they were 25. It takes time to understand the greater realities. You have to look at what houses it's in, okay? Whether it deals with mathematics, could be the astrophysicist, okay? It could be the scientist. Again, it could be, the university. Ninth house is university, higher education, higher mind. Foreign lands, foreign travels, multicultural, the Gemini, Sagittarius, third house, ninth house axis is the multicultural axis. These people may need to go outside their religion, outside of their culture, outside of their country, outside of their native language. And, that can be very challenging. And at the same time, it can also be very expanding. And yeah, I speak 5 languages, okay? I've traveled extensively around the world. I can see that this is, this is common to all cultures, common to all religions. And this can really bring these people, into positions of great stature within the world. And they can be very powerful teachers. Yeah. I mean, you could probably do some research on TED Talks or something, I'm sure a bunch of those people have like Jupiter, Saturn contacts, Saturn in the 10th house, Saturn in Capricorn, Saturn aspecting Saturn. Christina's going to go around with the second Saturn return. Jules is going to take Saturn, natal, square, opposite, square, which Saturn return. So we just look at it in the 10th house in Capricorn, where it is now. Okay, 2018 and 19 and into 2020. And just say that it's very strong. You have a strong Saturn, for better or for worse, in sickness and in health, till death do you part. When it comes to this, and this is why I also say with the conjunction, you have to look at other aspects. You'll look in the worksheets and I'll say, the conjunction, I look at it as a challenging aspect. Okay. Saturn conjunct Mars, Saturn conjunct Mercury, Saturn conjunct Neptune. Saturn usually brings, like I say, he's a taskmaster. He brings us lessons. Okay. But the conjunction, it depends. Because if Saturn is conjunct the Sun, okay, and it's got a bunch of trines and sextiles and blah, 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 right? Well, then that conjunction is kind of like exalted. That conjunction is like, sitting pretty good, Charlie. If it's got a bunch of squares to it, okay, it's even more challenging, right? So you have, more conditioning to break through. You have more laws or dogma or, rigid approaches, to move through. You have this karma. You may have made choices based on other people's laws and rules that were not in alignment. And so this lifetime, you kind of see things the hard way. Yeah, they don't work. People get hurt. You hurt yourself. Your business goes belly up, whatever. Yeah, because you really need to. But overall, Saturn in the 10th house is powerful and strong. In Capricorn, powerful and strong. And it does have to do with leadership capacity, the ability to delegate. This is part of the maturity. And having boundaries, knowing boundaries, learning boundaries is, oh my God. Sometimes Saturn can take on too much responsibility, too many duties. And you get sick, okay, or you don't have a personal life, or you don't have time for your family, or your relationships all suffer because, I knew this guy when I was, designing computers and stuff in the Silicon Valley. He slept in his office. He brought in a foamy pad and his sleeping bag, and he would sleep at the freaking office. And I was like, dude, get a life. So you got to watch out. And so part of authority is what? Finding my own boundaries. And it's like, okay, I'll have an accountant do that. I'll have a webmaster do that. Okay, I'll hire, a cook, to do that if I have to. But, it's like, I need to really, clarify. And then when those boundaries are clear, you become an authority on boundaries. You can become an authority on responsibility. You become the boss. And you leave a mark. Yes, it takes time, endurance, and patience, perseverance, but these are also people that leave institutions behind them when they die. Yeah. The founders of the Salvation Army, or, Greenpeace, or Doctors Without Borders, or the United Nations, or, some country or whatever. I mean, these are people that really leave something for the future generations. Yeah. Saturn in Aquarius, speaking of the future, 11th house, planet Uranus. And this is an interesting one, because before they discovered Uranus, Saturn actually was the ruler of Aquarius. Like there was no future. Forget the future. Push that plow. Pay your taxes. Don't worry about the future. You are a peasant paying the king, right? I mean, oh my God. So Thank God, you know, Uranus was discovered. When was that? Like 18, I forget, 1870 or 1850 or something. I'm so bad. But anyway, it's an interesting one because I always feel like there's two types of Aquarius. There's the Saturn type of Aquarius, and there is the Uranian type of Aquarius. For instance, my uncle, okay, ran, the planetarium in Boston. He was an astronomer. Okay, he had some Aquarius, probably Saturn and Aquarius. Okay, I have Sun conjunct Uranus. Okay, I'm an astrologer. Did we get along? No. Yeah, so you can have this structured form science, Monsanto, okay, messing around with the genes and GMOs and, you know, in the laboratory, you know, really doing it for material gain. And, you know, it's like, we're going to prove that cigarettes are good for you, you know, and we're going to twist the, you know, statistics or the, you know, the research a little bit. But you know what, you know, there's a lot of this science that's paid for these days. That's kind of a Saturn and Aquarius kind of a thing. Yeah. But so, you know, Uranus is the personal unconscious. It is my unique individual. Carl Jung coined the term individuation. I am a unique individual, eccentric, bizarre, unusual. And Saturn is the opposite of that. It wants you to conform to the group. Yeah. And hold on to that reputation and like don't be weird and don't wear funny hats or, you know, too much jewelry or whatever. You know, it's like you know, be regular, be normal. So when you have Saturn Uranus contacts, okay, and there can be challenges with external authorities, particularly of we're dealing now with politics, okay, globalization, okay, world views, world news, world events, global corporations, big things, okay? Aquarius is very non-attached, okay? It's the helicopter or the UFO looking down on the big thing, okay? So it's not so personal at all. So when Saturn comes, you know, into contact with Uranus, there can be some interesting dynamics. One is what? You become an authority on revolution. You become the boss, okay, of the rebellion. Okay, so maybe Karl Marx had some Saturn Uranus aspects, okay, but is it easy? There's blocks and hindrances, and you can feel like somebody's taking your freedom away, and there's somebody like squashing your individuation all the time, or you know, you got this father that's, you know, a conservative lawyer, whatever, Republican. All right, I'll admit it, man. I have the Sun conjunct Uranus. It is trine to Saturn. But my father was a conservative, Catholic, Republican lawyer. Whoa, baby. Did I grow up with some rules in German? Did I say German? It's like, this is the way we do things. Whoa. Yeah. So, challenges with that. And yet ultimately, okay, now I am, right? You know, I started the new paradigm astrology community, bringing in a future paradigm. So, you know, this is a reflection. I don't want to get too personal about this, but just understand, okay, that you can have problems with authority. And these problems with authority can get really nasty and gnarly. You can end up in jail, okay? Saturn is confinement, restriction. It's the law. You can have trouble with the police. You can have trouble with the government. Okay. You can have trouble with business and the taxes or the establishment, basically. And it requires you to be mature to not be like overly rebellious or too extreme or too wild or too eccentric. You have to find some way to integrate Uranus and Saturn and to bring in the future, to bring in unique individual self-expression within a structured, recognizable, or maybe testable, right? Saturn, likes, okay, where we can have duplicatable results, right? We do the same experiment 20 times over and it tells us the same thing. That's what Saturn likes. They take Uri Geller, I don't know if you're familiar with Uri Geller. He used to bend spoons, right? Just like with his mind, and so they would bring him into, I think it was Stanford or whatever, they'd bring him into the laboratory and it's like, okay, bend that spoon with your mind. Okay. And he'd have to do it like over and over and over again. And it's okay, now we've got some tangible proof, okay, that the mind can bend spoons. So Saturn likes this kind of a thing. Uranus is just like, forget it. So you need to make peace. Uranus needs to make peace with Saturn. And Saturn needs to make, peace with Uranus. So when you have challenging aspects with these, Saturn is also the past and Uranus is the future. You got Saturn square Uranus, and it's just like, oh man, as soon as I try something new, something from the past, okay, or some, old established thing tries to like hold me back or pull me back. And, or opposition especially, okay, no, I don't like change. I don't want to go into the future. I'm afraid of, like sudden unexpected things happening. I'm a conservative. And then Uranus comes in like lightning bolts and just like blows up your cuckoo's nest, and you can like really. So you have to look and just come to terms with this change and the future. Yeah. Pisces, 12th house, Neptune. It's a big one. Pisces, 12th house, Neptune. Last sign, last house. Neptune, collective unconscious. That's huge. And everything is in there. And it's completely unconscious. It's out of your control. It's out of your ego. It's out of your, it's like, you don't see, you don't recognize, you can't really identify 12th house planets. So Saturn in the 12th house, Saturn in the sign of Pisces, can have to do with, again, authority issues, okay? Because Neptune, Pisces has to do with the alpha and the omega, the beginning and the end. It starts out innocent, a dream, illusions, fantasies, possibilities, potentials, infinite, no boundaries. Neptune has no boundaries, 12th house. There's no time in dreams. Oh my God, 12th house, dreams. So Saturn there, okay, can be, somebody who's brought up with no boundaries, somebody who's brought up where, the authorities, for them, Saturn were invisible or just like weren't there, or, they don't understand boundaries. They have boundary issues. Okay. Sometimes maybe they don't have control. They don't have any models for that. On the other hand, it can be too much. Okay. I mean, it can be like forms of masochistic slavery and, incarceration. 12th house is prisons and hospitals, and it can be, severe, okay, confinement, if you don't follow this rule or follow that law or follow this. So there's just kind of this whole realm. I look at the 12th house as the house of spirit. Neptune is the planet of spirit, of infinite love, union. It's a sign in the house of yoga. Well, more meditation and mysticism. 6th house is yoga, and yoga is complemented by meditation. You know, you do your physical movements to prepare the body to do the 12th house meditation. In the meditation, you sit still and you stop your thinking. You get out of your ego and you open up the Sushumna, the crown chakra. Yeah. So Saturn here wants to become a spiritual authority. And it's dealing with, I mean, these are the people that can be what, you know, Neptune, Pisces in 12th house also has to do with escapism and denial and avoidance and addictions. So Saturn in the 12th house can be, I want to become an authority on addictions. I work with Alcoholics Anonymous. Okay, my father was an alcoholic. Saturn is usually more having to do with the father. But I'm a, what is it, children of alcoholic families, or whatever. I mean, it's just like, yes, I've been a victim. 12th house has to do with victim and martyrdom. Okay, I have been a victim of irresponsible or just like crazy or chaotic conditions and situations. I have had to find my own Saturn, and of course, this is another thing that takes time, maturity. Going over and over and over and over again. It can say that I need to find spirit. Okay, Saturn, Neptune can say, no, there's no God. There's no, whoever has the most toys, when they dies wins. It can be very materialistic. You need to find spirit. Find something that is beyond this material realm. So there can be, the other thing with the 12th house is the house of self-undoing. So this can be where, I either have too many boundaries or I have no boundaries, but one way or the other, I find myself defeating myself. And just when I'm about to, win, get that brass ring from the merry-go-round, okay, it's like something comes along. It has to do with responsibility, taking responsibility, owning responsibility for, oh my goodness, the collective unconscious, becoming responsible for the collective unconscious. Woo! I mean, to me, I would say ultimately these people are what I call the world servants. Souls that are on a mission here that is really big, really wide, really broad. And in some ways, their life is not so much in their control. That there is a higher power. There is a divine intelligence, the 11th and the 12th house in particular. 10, 11, and 12, okay, are these houses where, they are karmic houses. They are houses where the hand of God, Goddess, the hand of Source, okay, planets in those houses, it's really about duty and responsibility to something bigger, something greater than my own good, than my own welfare, than my own success, and particularly in the 12th house. So, these people can, manage hospitals, okay, or, just like, really deal, okay, with, addictions, and, really promote, run the ashram, okay, or whatever, but manage and control, okay, these places of 12th house is isolation and seclusion. Behind the scenes. So Saturn is that I am very powerful. It's also my inner world. A lot of times it's Saturn in the 12th house people, you don't see their Saturn, okay? They're happy-go-lucky. They're always smiling. It's this buried kind of a thing. I always say planets in the 12th house were not allowed at the dinner table, when you were young. So you hid them. But inwardly, Saturn in the 12th house, or this Pisces and this, inwardly, I am very controlled. I am very rigid. I can be very judgmental. But I don't admit it or acknowledge it or bring it out. So I can limit myself. I can be overly cautious. I can be very fearful of chaos, very fearful of losing control. Oh my goodness. 12th house Neptune is chaos. Saturn is like control. So this is just like, when do I surrender? When do I let go? Last but not least, I would probably say that Saturn-Neptune connections do have to do with depression, because Neptune is the fantasy. It's the dream. It's the potential. It's that innocent, yes, we're all one. We're all connected. I love you and 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 you. And Saturn says, well, on Earth, there is separation. There is time. There is space. There is matter. Okay, we all have separate bodies. We all have separate bank accounts. We all have separate this, that, and the other thing. So, and Saturn is the Lord of reflection. So it's deep. Saturn-Neptune contacts, these are very deep people. These can be your mystics. These can be, okay, the gurus. These can be very powerful artists or musicians or the conductors of the symphony. How's that for a perfect Saturn-Neptune? Neptune is music. The music of the spheres. And Saturn is, I am going to conduct. Okay, and we follow the timing, and the cellos come up now and the violins go down, and so but hey, that takes a lot of study, doesn't it? It takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of reflection. It's not just like, nowadays you got the DJs, just kind of nothing. I'm not judging DJs, but Saturn in Pisces could be a very powerful DJ who runs a recording studio or whatever. Anyway, I hope that you get some of an idea about Saturn from this, and of course the worksheet is designed for you to reflect. Saturn is reflection. Take a separate piece of paper, because I put one question right after another, and just reflect. Think over this whole next week. You don't have to answer right away. It's like you might want to reflect on it, or go to sleep with one of these questions and see what you wake up with. See what Spirit gives you. Okay, but it's going to be, you're going to see who's playing what roles in your life, what authorities and, what laws and rules you've, taken and maybe agree with or don't agree with, or, are here to change, or blah, 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 blah. So, and it's all to do. Your birth chart reflects, your soul intention. So thank you for signing up for the course. And this is only the first module of 8. So like, wow. What an opportunity, okay, to really delve into and make 2018 a year where you really get your shit together. That's what Saturn is about, form and structure. Yeah. So after you listen to this, you can put some questions up on Google Classrooms. I will be checking Google Classrooms throughout the week. I'll be gathering up all these questions, okay? You can go to the Facebook. So I'll be more on the classroom thing, okay, answering questions. And you guys, okay, all of you, many of you have signed up, okay? So there's a whole bunch of people. Talk among yourselves, Okay, maybe somebody else has the same Saturn square Mars that you do. Okay, hey, who's got Saturn in Libra? What was he talking about? So connect on Facebook. Okay, and then come to the classroom with some things that you've digested. Okay, and let's not just have spontaneous. Oh, I don't get it. Pop out a question. You reflect on this. You do know. Yeah. So you really form a question based upon an hour of thinking about something. Then you go to the classroom and ask a question. None of this, give me more instructions, give me more recipes, give me more dogmas. I do not want to be your Saturn. The whole thing about this course is you becoming your own Saturn, okay? Your own authority. So, thank you so much for showing up, and let's all be authorities of the new paradigm together. Namaste. Aloha. So much Saturn.